This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian, Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More. And I got to apologize ahead of time, just in case I have bad sound or bad audio or bad video. You just never know. So with that, I might be handing this off to our friend Jeremy because I wanted to make this his show and Tonya's show with Susan, with everybody else. So Jeremy, tell them who you are and why you're here on Movie Reviews and More.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here on Movie Reviews and More. I'm Jeremy Van Wert, former CEO of the legendary Santa Clara Vanguard. I'm a therapist and author and host of the Mindful Mutiny podcast and the CEO of High Altitude Mindset Coaching. I help professionals like you dedicate as much time to yourselves as you do to your work by forming a strategic plan for your life and your goals. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I would like to hand it off to Ms. Tonya Holly.
Hi there. It's so wonderful to finally be here. I'm coming from my studio, Cypress Moon Studios in Alabama. So we're very excited to be here. I'm a producer, writer, director, and we're producing a podcast right now called It's Just the Way We Talk. And we just launched the men's version of that. It's Just the Way They Talk. So that's been a lot of fun. We're really starting to see things happen with this. So it's been really exciting.
And Susan, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I was going to hand it off to Susan. Go ahead, Brian.
So I may be freezing, so that's why, in case people weren't paying attention. So Susan, all right. So with over 30 years of experience marketing, international best-selling author, and guess what, Susan? I got your book. So that's the important thing. And you're on mute. But with that, she's been out with us doing Oscar weekend, doing a lot of exciting things. And so we got to talk about her and her friend that she had join in, who I've never met as far as I remember. All right, Susan, you get to talk about a little bit more what you do, who you are, where you're at, and your friend Clayton and why he's on the show.
All right, so thank you. Sorry, it took me a second to find the mute button. So I'm the author of Empowered Communication. I've got over 30 years in sales, mostly in medical device sales, Empowered Communication, C-Suite and Sales Edition. And it's really based on the work of the masters. This was my coach of over 20 years was a lady named Marsha Martin. Marsha was one of the first, she might have been the first VP of Landmark, the Forum. And she is extremely well known. She actually, when Tony Robbins started his business, she was his first business manager. They broke away from Landmark and she, helped him get his business going and went off on her own. And so anyway, my book was based a lot on her work and of course on her training, as well as some others such as Herb Transer, Jim Bunch, several other mentors in there, but mostly on Marsha's work. And it basically really helps people communicate and connect on a much deeper level. It allows them to really understand, first of all, where they develop, where each of us develop their own beliefs, but then also for all the people that we are communicating with, it helps us better understand where they got their beliefs from. And so it's just such a higher level of understanding of the entire conversation. And I brought Clayton on today. Clayton's been a friend of mine for quite a while. He's an extremely well-known actor, although these days more so perhaps in Italy than in America, but he used to be the big guy in America. And he was one of the people who reviewed my book for me before I published it. And one of the things he said is that, you know, I'll let him state it himself perhaps better, but he talked about how in my book, we're really talking about trading judgment for compassion and understanding, and just becoming compassionate, committed listeners.
And Clayton, you get to take over from that part right there.
Well, that's a beautiful introduction. Can you hear me all right?
You're a little staticky, but we can do it. We can handle it. Go for it.
My joy at being invited here is complete. I really enjoyed not only watching Susan evolve, as we've known each other for many years, but trading our judgments about how we communicate our thoughts, our feelings, our worries, our sadness, whatever it is. The actors do it all. There has to be a fertile field in the middle where we can meet people where there's potential conflict. And Susan is a master at helping us to stay very conscious of the choices we are making as we trade judgment about a given situation, what we want, what we hope to get, how we're going to get it, for something that's much higher and more beautiful. It invites peace and harmony into the world. So I'm delighted that she is promoting this type of communication and that you're honoring it by making it part of your podcast.
Yeah. And I really feel like if we're ever going to achieve world peace, we need everyone to start being willing to have difficult conversations, but to also be willing to consider the position of others. Because if we can't consider another person's position, how do we ever come to an understanding and get to a point of agreement and being able to work together, rather than be, you know, where the last 4 years have just so polarized so many people.
And Jeremy,
Yes.
I'm going to have you introduce Rachel and Howard, and then I'll go into Tonya.
The wonderful Rachel Roberts. Can you go ahead and talk about yourself a little bit?
Hi. Okay, so I'm Rachel Roberts. I'm a little chef here in Houston, Texas, but I'm so much more. I have a morning talk show called Coffee Talk, and you can find me at Rachel Roberts Recipes or Rachel Ann Roberts. So I'm currently actually doing 2 shows at the same time. I've got I'm backstage for another show, so I'm working both of you guys at the same time. So never a dull moment. I've been a co-host with Brian with Movie Reviews and More for a few years. I love you, Brian. It's always fun to be on. While I was on, I met Piper Man, so I'm a co-host on that show, Adventures of Pipe Man, which is live tomorrow at 12 Central, 1 Eastern, and that's a lot of fun. Brian, thank you. I've got my bikini on because it is spring break, and so I'm going from like the boat inside to the beach to like everything else. So here I am for you guys, and I might be coming in and out.
No, I super love your happy spirit.
Howard, I don't know how Howard could top that, but Howard, go for it. Unless he froze.
Howard Wiggins. I'm son of Little Roy Wiggins, plays steel guitar for Eddie Arnold. I've got a movie coming up called Without Warning, where I play the father of a girl that gets involved with a very bad guy. I guess that's as much as I can say about that. That starts the end of April that we start filming. I posted, if you go to my Facebook, you'll see pictures of my dad playing steel guitar behind Patsy Cline. Also, let's see, what else have I got going on? I just did Nashville Women in Film. We had their Oscar night party. I think Brian's got some pictures of me coming up from that a little later on in the show. Let's see, I'm an ex-interior designer. We're really one of the world's 35 leading interior designers. I'm retired, and since I've retired, I'm doing everything else in the world. I'm going into acting, doing the podcast with Brian. Like I said, I got some movies coming up. I do dance videos. I'm on Twitter. So you just never know what I'm going to do next. I just changed my look recently. Those that know me, I usually have a beard. I just shaved it off, trying to become a little younger for my new part, because my wife's a lot younger, and then I have a teenage daughter. I got to get it a little younger. So that's me.
That's funny. And then obviously who popped in? Tonya, it's never ending. It's nonstop. So you may remember
okay.
Terry from California. Last time you saw her in 2019, I think.
Oh,
So yeah,
Yeah, good to
2019.
see you.
All right, Terry, tell everybody who you're from, where you're from, and what you're doing. What's going on?
I am here in beautiful Sherman Oaks, California. As everybody knows, I've been with Brian since 2014. I do red carpet interviews for Brian. I do fitness competitions. I finally picked a show. I'm going to do one in June. That probably be the last one I do, but I'm going to push myself because it's a mentally challenging thing I want to do. I'm also an artist, and then I have a career in orthopedic sales. I can just say it now because I've been there 6 months. I work for Donjoy. We actually are the preferred provider for all the NFL as far as their sports bracing. And today I was over at Kaiser helping fit some of our orthopedic, not orthopedic, our OA patients with his arthritis on some of our bracing. And I just went through training in San Diego and got some more CEUs for my athletic training certificate. So that was fun. So last week I missed the show because I was in training with a bunch of athletic trainers, but yeah, that's who I am, and I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate everything that Brian does. And I've kind of missed some things lately because I've been tied up with all this work training, but now that my wings have been, now I'm free to fly again. So good to see everybody.
Hey, so Tonya, you being that owner of a world-renowned and world-famous studio that a woman owns in Alabama, which I've always thought was cool, and you being that sexy, that Southern elegant look that you have, no matter what you're wearing, I just love you as that person. I love everything about what you're doing, and I will make it to that studio. Talk about what it's like to take that over. You also being that writer, producer, director, what that's like for you there.
I tell you, I never thought I was going to buy a studio. I mean, and the 18th of this month, it will be 19 years that I've owned this place. This was Muscle Shoals Sound for 27 years. I mean, Bob Dylan, Bob Seger, right in this room that I'm sitting in, Glenn Fry from the Eagles, Etta James, James Brown, Widespread Panic, Melissa Etheridge, Julian Lennon. Oh my goodness, the list goes on and on. Some of the greatest acts and names in the business recorded right here, right where I'm sitting. And this is where we do our podcast too, right here. But I mean, I wanted to be an actress, and then I got behind the scenes on my first film, gosh, a long time ago, 30 something years ago, nearly 40. And I decided I wanted to be a director and a producer. And so that's how it all started. I started in casting, and I did extras casting for Blue Sky with Jessica Lange and Tommy Lee Jones and Bodysnatchers. Then when I couldn't do that job, I would work as a scenic, and I worked for Disney, Tom and Huck. And then I also worked for, I did production assistant work just to get started because I knew what I wanted to do. The Tuskegee Airmen for HBO, Out on a Limb with Matthew Broderick, Toy Soldiers with Lou Gossett Jr. I mean, I just kept, X's and O's for CBS. I worked for HBO, NBC, and I always kept a home here in Alabama. So I would fly back and forth wherever I needed to go. And then I was writing the whole time. But I come from music on both sides of my family. My mom wrote for George Jones, Tammy Wynette, Carl Perkins, Randy Travis. My late father was one of the Hacker brothers, and that's how I'm related to my cousin Edie, and we're related to Elvis on my daddy's side. So Elvis's grandmother, Minnie Mae, and my great grandpa were brothers and sisters. So there's music everywhere. I'm married to a musician for 33 years. Kelvin Holly, he was Little Richard's guitar player for 25 years. And when he didn't tour with Richard, he was touring with the Amazing Rhythm Aces, and he also toured the last 8 years of Peggy Young's life. And so we're just doing all that together. He did the music for my podcast, and we're doing all that right here. But it's been amazing. And I've got movie scripts that I'm working on getting funded right now. So it's all about getting that money to make that next movie, but I'm ready.
And she never sleeps, and she's always elegant. Huh, Howard? You
We've
and Howard
got
have those
that
elegant.
photo shoot. We've
Well,
got.
you know what's fun about that, Jeremy, is that she and Howard have that elegant family. They know how to dress no matter where they are, and I find that fascinating. When she came out in this jacket and whatever she was wearing when I was last in Tennessee, my mouth dropped because they just know how to style us. I feel sad as a black guy. I can't dress like they can. I can't. Jeremy, take it away. I mean, so again, you're an author. You got something coming out. Tonya, you never know which book that you might turn into a movie based on what it is, do you?
You never know.
All right, Jeremy, go for it.
No, I really want to dovetail on what it was that Susan and Clayton were talking about earlier with the higher level thinking in a world full of hurt, in a world that is fractured, and a world that a lot of people are kind of missing a great deal of like existential meaning in their lives. And I do have a book coming out. It's called There Is More, Living a Life of Expansiveness in a World That Is Not Perfect. And it's autobiographical stories of my life that culminate in a message of hope and a message of that there truly is more in our lives than what we were kind of raised to see ourselves being. And I guess to lay some fabric to what I'm talking about here, I'm a lifelong workaholic. And I grew up ADHD, and I never really felt like the smart kid in class. In fact, I never really got good grades because I didn't understand in the like 1980s that my brain just worked differently. And so the way that I compensated for that was that I just kept striving, kept trying to conquer, kept trying to climb the ladder. I got 2 master's degrees. I kept going up the corporate ladder, ended up being a vice president and a CEO and all these different things. And, there's always a lot of stories that go along with a climb to get there and everything. But when I finally got up to, the C-suite, if you will, I was surrounded in people who were really struggling with substance abuse, struggling with family problems, anxiety, depression, and even suicidality, people who are running nonprofit organizations, people who are running major companies. And the more I was running a company, the more my sleep was suffering. I had no spiritual walk. I was constantly sick, traveling all of the time. And no amount of work was ever enough. I would answer my phones and emails on vacations. And so when I left my most recent CEO job, I started a high altitude mindset. And I've been working really hard this year on doing coaching with people who are really seeking that there is more in life. Because if there's anything that we have learned in the last 4 years, and I'm talking about a pandemic kind of related time, is that everything around us can just shatter. Everything around us, you can't necessarily expect everything to pull through for you. And people are finding that they're less satisfied in their jobs, less satisfied in what it is that they're doing. There's a lot of burnout, and there's a lot, particularly among young people, that are going, but I did everything right, and I can't afford to live anywhere, and I don't love what I'm doing, and I got hired in this dream job, and they laid me off in 3 months because they don't care. And a lot of people who went the very traditional route to try to find their happiness, if you will, and down that road was just more struggle. And so what I am working with people on every single day is helping people reach beyond just the conventions of life, find out what their true value actually is, set real goals that are sustainable, check back in with spirituality in your life, and build an actual roadmap. Because a lot of people, when they get out of school, they just go, now I really don't know what to do. Because at school, I had to wake up at 8:30 every single day, and there was a structure for me every day, and there's no structure for me now. So I help people with how to find that there for them. and get to what it is that's going to create the highest level of existential meaning for them, how to break out of burnout, how to get out of stagnation, and how to build a life that is truly meaningful. And it's not easy, but it's something that's so incredibly important. And that's what my book is about, because it really took climbing all the way to the top and then looking around and going, I thought that I would be fulfilled here, and I am not. And going out and starting a business that is designed around helping people live more happy and fulfilled lives.
That's Susan's book right there, huh, Susan?
A lot of it, yes, absolutely. It's
Well,
funny how a lot of us, kind of have some similar paths and a lot of connections, and yet also some different branches. Like Terry Marie, for example, working for Dawn Joy, and she's talking about getting trained on the unloader brace for arthritis. But back in the early 90s, I worked for a company called Generation 2 Orthotics. And the owner, well, actually not the owner of the company was the son of the inventor of the original unloader brace. And, I was taught by Geordie Taylor, to assess and fit people for this brand new knee brace. And so it's, now, companies like Dawn Joy have got, and Dawn Joy really has, in some ways done it better than they did. It's so cool, how there's so many great connections. We've got movie people here, we've got authors here, we've got fitness people here. It's such a wonderful connection between all of us.
Susan, you'll probably like this. So when I was in San Diego, I was actually able to go to the manufacturing plant in Carlsbad where they actually make the braces. I was amazed because at least six people actually touched that customized brace. The people that make those braces, there's a human side on both sides. So my company, and this is probably like, I'm so proud to work for this company. It took me a long time to finally get to a company that I'm like, I am proud to work for this company, because everybody, we care about our patients, we care about the product. Just to see they're hand painted, like they're hand molded. Each of those braces is custom fit to the athlete. So it was just really amazing. And the fact that I get up every day and our products really do help people walk. I fitted a guy last week who had to get a hip brace. And at first we're looking at him going, is he okay? And he's like, he told me, my boss, he's like, I have not been able to walk across the room for like that for 5 years. And it was just like, it's a good feeling when you can actually do something that you like and then help other people. And I'm just really like, it's really kind of a neat feeling. But I just thought you would appreciate the fact that I went through the plant. They make the bone stimulators there too. But it was just really cool. And they had a whole shelf of all the braces with all the, the college teams, because basically, NFL is like, they don't want to use anything else but Dawn Joy. So it was kind of neat.
And Tonya and Clayton, I always say to Terry, what about the rest of the population that would like to have these too? Because I'm always looking at the opposite of what everybody else may not be seeing, if that makes sense.
Well, that would be there's two different types of braces. There's gonna be, braces for the athletes, and then there's braces for people with arthritis and injuries. Also, we do basically DME for shoulders, legs, back, knee. Basically we have the whole product line. But yeah, there's a need for, there's different needs with different products, if that makes any sense.
Dawn Joy is a big company. They have a full line. They've been around for a long time. When I was selling, there was Dawn Joy Generation 2 in Townsend, and now there's probably 100 companies.
Yeah. Well, the history of Dawn Joy is is really kind of neat, because it was the two guys that started it. They took liens on their homes to start this company because they were using, the neophone, what they use with body glove, the material they use for body glove.
Neoprene.
Neoprene. Thank you. Neoprene braces. And to get the approval for their wives, they named the company after their wives, which is Dawn and Joy. That's where you got Dawn and Joy Orthopedics. So anyway, kind of a.
So Clayton, I don't know what you've been doing lately. Well, actually, do what you've been doing lately. Talk about what you've been doing lately and what you have coming up in the future.
I think you're gonna have to use your phone for the audio, Clayton. The computer's not liking it.
A little better now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for that, Brian. Lately, I have been involved in a wonderful action film, which is a new one for me. I have often been involved in love rom-coms, soap opera. I've done a lot of that in Europe, and specifically in Italy. And lately, I got an action film called Last Resort, which is now available on Amazon. And I got to play a bad guy. Now, the interesting thing about bad guys don't know they're bad. And this brings in an area of communication. We're all trying to get what we want in life. Now, and we may be conscious, we may be unconscious about that pursuit and how it will hurt other people, how it will rob them of a quality of life. But we have the intention to do something good for us. So this begs the question. Every time I research a character, I have to find out, I have to communicate with my heart as I explore that character. Who is this guy? What does he want? How does he plan to get it? And I learned in Acting 101, you can never negate the reason. You can never make the actor, the protagonist or the antagonist choice wrong, because then you can't play him. You've got to know exactly why he does it and find the exonerating reason. So Susan's book, I think, is very applicable, very much to my craft. But as I hear the others talking, specifically Jeremy and Terry, about what do people want? What are people looking for? How are they finding fulfillment? How can I get what I want from other people if I can't communicate effectively? If I can't tell them, look, I'm hurting inside. I'm a CEO and I'm not happy here. I need a little more of this, a little more of that. How can I come to you when we find a middle ground that allows everybody to create a win-win situation? So I think her work is pivotal to what I'm, as well as all the rest of it, all of our various creative endeavors to engage with people in a way that exonerates what we're doing and embraces what they're doing. So we come with authentic compassion. I just finished a 5-month tour of Italy doing a musical where I had to communicate, I had to sing in Italian, and we toured the whole country. It was a wonderful experience. I saw corners of the country I never expected to. But afterwards, there were always a lot of fans who knew me from the soap opera version of my career and had come out to see me in theater sing.
We lost Clayton. We're hearing Rachel now.
That's interesting. Hey, Clayton, we lost you on one.
Hey, Clayton, we lost you. Rachel came in and your audio disappeared. The universe wanted to hear Rachel.
Yes. Well, it leads, Susan, it leads to your book, a chapter on balanced communications, which is interesting, right? That's what it leads to. You know, we're pre-retrograde, so this stuff is going to happen. Tonya, I have to ask you this, because I tell people and I ask people this now. Did you know in your lifetime that you're going to own a studio? Because I can tell you, I always wanted to be in radio, but I didn't see podcasting coming. And I definitely didn't see that we might have millions of views and going on with that. Your answer to that?
I didn't hear the very first part of that, Brian.
Oh, did you ever know that you might be owning a studio at one point in your life? Did you ever see that coming?
No, never. I just wanted to work on films and, you know, music videos and such, and had no idea that I would own the studio. When I decided to produce, it just made sense to do movies and music under one roof, because we're doing everything under this place. It's 38,000 square feet. We've got a theater, the Full Moon Theater, and I'm producing plays in there. And we also do live concerts. So we do a little bit of everything. And I had no idea that I would ever be doing a podcast right here from Studio A.
And Jeremy, going to you. Did you think 5 years ago that you would be having a podcast yourself and being here?
It's amazing. When I was a little kid, I used to play DJ in my garage with a little stereo, and I had the little microphone, and I used to remix things like JJ Fad and La Trim and Young MC and these little things that were like popular in the early 1990s. And I'd pretend to have my own radio show. And I actually found the cassette tapes recently and got a cassette to a digital recorder. And I was serious about it. I was like 11 years old, and I was dead serious about this.
I love it. I want to hear that, Jeremy. You're gonna send that.
Well, I don't know.
Send me that tomorrow. Yes, you are.
Well, Howard, talking about this, did you ever think that you would be doing what you're doing now? Because you were that interior designer.
Never. I always thought I was going to be an interior designer all my life, and I still think I am, but I just don't do it as much as I used to because, just got older and things have changed. But no, it was just circumstance. One thing led to another, which led to another, and I'm just taking the challenge and going with it. So I think the surprises in life can keep you going. Keep you from being in a rut. Try new experiences. And a lot of times, whatever you're afraid of, you're not afraid of it once you do it. So it's not as big as you think it is in your head. So I'm enjoying it.
And Clayton, when you think of actors, think they're going to get these great roles and things like that, and a lot of them do. But did you think you were going to be on a soap opera and be that iconic person that you were on that?
I really didn't, Brian. When I got that role back in the mid 80s, I had waited a long time to get a substantial role. And I hired a coach to really help me dig deep into the pathos of the character. And I actually was not originally chosen, but the executive producer's wife saw the final screen tests and said, nope, this guy we've chosen for this character is too similar to his brother. We need that blonde guy. We need that really super sensitive, emotional guy, Clayton. We need to get him in here. And with a week's notice, I suddenly had a contract that went on for 3 years, and the show went to over 100 foreign countries. So I had long since given up on it. And, I think we have to learn to never say never. I just heard Matthew McConaughey do a commencement address on a podcast. He's a very eloquent speaker, but he sits there in a white sports shirt and he talks about life. And he just said one thing that was very powerful that I'll share with you. He said, look, life is not easy. I didn't know I'd be here. I didn't know I'd do all these roles. I know I'd give up romp and do a role where I have to lose 70 pounds to play the role and get an Oscar for it. No way I could know that. I want you to know that you don't really appreciate something that you haven't sweated for. And I think quality communication is a really important thing that we sweat through. We give up our belief systems that are deeply entrenched much of the time, and we let go and authentically listen to other people the way we're doing to each other today. This is wonderful that we're all talking about something that we can all benefit from in our world.
Terry Marie,
Yeah.
you knew you wanted to do fitness, but did you know? I mean, here I tell everybody this almost every day. I never picked Terry. Terry picked me. So how did I know that this young lady was going to be with me for 10 years? Who knew? Terry, what did you see that I didn't pay attention to?
What do you mean? I'm a natural salesperson. I'm just very persistent. I go what I think people that know me know that if I really want something, I have the drive to go and get it. I don't take no for an answer. I don't know. That's something that I eventually I would like to share with other people as far as, don't be, I'm not afraid to ask. That's probably what I think a lot of people, whether you're in sales, whether you're an actress, anything in life, people are afraid to ask. And the worst thing that can be told you is no. So and you're not going to get fed, if you don't ask. So my philosophy is go in there, I ask. If I don't, get the answer that I want, I'll go for another approach until I get to my goal, so that's, I think I just, that's just kind of where it came from, Brian. If you wanna know.
Which leads to Rachel. Rachel, did you know you had no idea when I put Dean on that you're going to be on his show in the future? We didn't know that we would be talking and that you would be talking to Jeremy. What did you see like 4 years ago to where you are now? How did you know? Because here you are doing things with a lot of people. Who knows where you lead to from this? Well, I kind of know.
I think every day is just a new day, and I just kind of follow my energy and follow my heart, and I just keep doing what I want to do. And if you just keep following your passion and just letting the universe lead you into whichever direction it wants, it's going to take you somewhere. And so with you and with the show and with everything else I do, it's not me that's taking me there. It's just kind of the universe carrying me in the right direction that it wants to. So, at night you can say your prayers, you can ask God to give you, new opportunities, just like the one you've received today. You thank him for the ones that you've received the day before, and you have the courage to act upon them. Because, times in life, we have things that come at us and it's like, oh, I don't think it's the right time. Well, you can't be like that. You got to just say yes. Be a yes girl and keep moving and keep going into the right direction. By the way, yeah. Jeremy, I want to tell you that was so funny. I went on to that other show. That's why I kind of took off, and your name came up. So we got to talk after the show. That is so funny. So reminded me to talk to you after this show about that other one.
Now I'm super curious. And that got wild. So anyway, back to you guys.
But hold on, Jeremy, which leads to the last person, Susan. You've done a lot of things. When you were that girl from Saskatchewan, what was it, a town of 300 then? Maybe 500? Who knew? Did you know? Exactly. You knew you wanted to play volleyball, but you didn't know you were going to do everything because you've done a lot of things.
Yeah, I never knew I was going to represent Canada in the FIVB and come to the US and play in the AVP. At least there are things that, weren't really, I thought I was going to be a phys ed teacher. I didn't know I was going to be in spine implant sales in the early 90s and be literally teaching surgeons how to drill pedicle screws back in the day. It was insane. I became a technician for the stealth image guided surgery system and was helping do pre-op plans for brain surgery. It's just, insane the stuff I did with the degree that was supposed to make me a phys ed teacher. And even writing this book, my original plan, I was like, Marsha, you need a book, Marsha's work needed to be in a book. And so I started writing the book for her. And she, at first, when I sent it to her, I'm like, look, I need to see this. This is for you. I said, do you want to be, co-author? How do you want to do this? And at first she wanted to be co-author. And then she realized, well, the problem is that I had to change all the wording so much because all the people who created all the work that I took it from, it was groups of these masters from decades ago that created, these files that I had of hers. And so they all had to be rewritten from my own voice. And so by the time the book was written, Marsha's like, well, this is really yours now. And so she wrote the foreword for me. And I'm like, fine, I'm going to tell people to go to you for coaching. And, I ended up being the one writing the book.
Who knew? Hey, let's take a couple of photos because this is Howard. Howard, talk about this. Go ahead.
I was in the Oscar night at Nashville Women in Film. I sat at a table with the cast that's going to be in my next movie, which is Without Warning. And I met a lot of the crew now. So I had a great time. It was awesome. Whenever I get around a lot of pretty people and wonderful people, I just have a great time. I just enjoy it so much. So I turn on the personality and it just comes out. What?
And what was this you were wearing right here?
That's a Be Unique jacket. That's actually got Dolly Parton on the back of it. I knew Dolly as she was becoming famous. And on the back, she gave me a poster when she came to see me in the hospital. And it was her first RCA poster. So she's got her hair up in a French twist, not the country person with all the high hair wigs that she had a little later on. And she wrote on there, said, "I love you, but don't tell everybody." Well, hell, I did tell everybody. So, and she always told me when she lost weight, got a divorce, I'd be next, and I'm still waiting. So,
So you got rid of your beard and you had fun like you always do, and everybody was there with you as usual.
Yeah. That's the whole cast there. Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Good for you.
It is a lot of people. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And so this was Heather. She puts out a beauty line, which I like. And I know if I like it, I know the girls will like it. Susan, remember this photo from this young lady here?
Yeah.
And this was for the 100th anniversary of the Hollywood sign with Vince Bonanno on his fragrance for the Hollywood sign called Sunset and Sunrise. So that was Friday night. And so we took a couple photos of things.
Yep.
And this is the new fragrance, which is obviously it's for unisex and it's good. I've only tried one right now, but I really like it. And Vince is very, very happy to what's going on with that. So Tonya,
Yes.
talk about this, because I keep running into a lot of authors who have books, and what they always want is, where can I get our book? How can I turn it into a movie series or a web series or whatever? What's your advice to them as a studio owner, as that casting director, as that writer, producer, and director?
Well, we got to get funded. That's key. We want to get money for it, but we can do things for a lot less money than we used to. So that's one thing that's a positive right now. But you just gotta believe in it. You gotta keep fighting for it. You gotta keep. If you believe in the story, write it down. If you've got a book, start talking to people. And if you want to maybe get somebody attached to it that will bring some name recognition. So that might help investors get involved. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. I've got 2 films that I'm working toward: Kudzu Dinosaurs and Christmas Memories, completely different types of movies. And then I've got about 20 other projects that we're working on and trying to get funded in various stages. So we just got to keep going, one foot in front of the other. And earlier we were talking about gratitude. You just got to be grateful for what you do have and keep that forward motion happening, no matter what anybody says, because who would have thought I'd been doing this in Alabama? Nobody.
Exactly. And that's why it's good to see you, because you're always working at a bunch of things. But here's what people said, and Jeremy mentioned a little bit of this. It's always the hard work that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. And that goes for everybody. It's always that. You have no idea what people go through to put all of these things on. It's a lot of work. Jeremy knows that now. Tonya knows that from owning a studio. Clayton knows that from being on a series and shooting quickly. It's a lot. Jerry, talk about this. Who you got coming up on Mindful Mutiny?
Oh, so Mindful Mutiny is my podcast, and I interview people who are living the highest version of themselves. People who have taken steps to kind of go against the status quo. And I'll tell you what, I have this wonderful couple that is going to be coming up in a few Tuesdays here. And they are called the Wanderlusters. And he had a job as a mechanic and she was a hairdresser, and they had 2 small children. He got laid off from his job and they didn't know what they were going to do. They owned a little house in Middle America, and they just decided, what the heck? Why don't we just buy an RV and live in that? And they bought a retired Greyhound bus that was retrofitted into an RV, and they drive all over the United States. And they expose their children to wonderful new things in this wonderful RV community. And I'll tell you, what's so beautiful about this couple is that I have never spoken with people that are this happy, this fulfilled. And they're so joyful in everything that they talk about. And they broke down one time, and he didn't know how to work on a diesel engine. And he himself, over 3 months, replaced the diesel engine. And they lived on site, and he did it himself. And he goes, now I know how it works. And so this wonderful, they're Wanderlusters. You can look them up on YouTube, and they're on all the things, right? They've got over 500,000 followers now. They're very popular. And it's just such a wonderful let's think about life differently. Let's do something different and create joy in our lives. We've had some setbacks here. Let's do something extraordinary. And right now they're in Mexico driving around, and they're publishing these wonderful videos of their children on the beach, and they get to live this really high vibration life with this wonderful RV community and travel everywhere. And it's very much in keeping with what the Mindful Mutiny podcast is all about, which is really taking the thoughtful steps to invest in your own highest self, your own joy, your own fulfillment in life. And so that's going to be coming up in a few Tuesdays from now. And I'm looking forward to everybody hearing that particular interview. And we've got a lot of really wonderful guests coming up.
That's awesome. And we got a couple minutes left coming up. So, Jeremy, if you get a knock in 2 days, it's them at your front door. so Clayton, talk about this. Give your social media links for everybody, Clayton. And again, talk about what you have coming up. You can never talk about it too much.
Well, my Instagram link is the easiest way to find me and what I'm up to. Clayton Norcross, 2 F's at the end, .official. So pretty easy. Okay. What's coming up? I'm up for a couple of films in Italy. I'm still very well known there from the soap opera that I did. I go back about twice a year. I speak the language. I'll always have an accent. Obviously, blonde. I don't exactly look Italian. So I always play the oddball American, the German, Scandinavian, the foreigner who happens to be in their films. Most of their film financing is from the state. There's very little public or private financing there. It's all public. So if they don't shoot in Italian, it hurts them financially. All these things we're learning to negotiate as the technology improves, and they're dubbing very little now. They're shooting mostly in original sound. Quando lavoro con loro parlo molto bene italiano. And so
nice.
If you can still hear me, oh, there you are. I'm looking forward to expanding my footprint in the 5 continents that I've been blessed, and taking this wonderful movie magic that we practice, and now it's morphed into streaming television that everybody can have for a very affordable price. Mm-hmm. And this is a very powerful tool, cinema and television, to use responsibly, to share ideas, the kind of thing we're talking about now on the podcast. I've written a TV series called Brutal Angels, which is about a maverick American cop who blows up his life here in LA. And the only job he can find is working for a neophyte anti-terrorist group that is fighting indigenous terrorism that's come across from Africa in Italy. And it sounds very, action and violence oriented. There's plenty of that, but it's handled in a way that exonerates this communication that we're talking about, that the way to solve it is understanding, not more violence.
All right, we got about 90 seconds left. Rachel Roberts, social media links.
At Rachel Roberts Recipes, also Rachel Ann Roberts on Facebook, or Rachel Roberts Recipes. Clayton, I sent you a friend request and a message. Nice to connect with everyone and to see you. Jeremy, I love you. Yes, Jeremy. Howard, I love you. Terry, wherever she went, there you are, Terry.
I'm down here.
Yeah, okay.
Terry Marie, social media links.
Nonstop Terry Marie on all platforms, because I am nonstop. And then my where I've got red carpet stuff and fitness stuff is terrymarieofficial.com.
Howard Wiggins.
Mm-hmm. Howard Wiggins Facebook, Howard Wiggins Twitter. And now Without Warning, next movie. Yes.
Susan Postnikoff now on Facebook. They made me change it to my full name to get verified. Mm-hmm. And Sue's post, SUZ post, music reviews on Instagram, inspired by Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And
I gave her permission to do it a couple years ago. She's the only one.
Yeah. And my
Yeah.
email on my photo on the screen, you can see my email and my one of my websites.
And Tonya, you get the last word. Social media links and how people can reach out to you.
Okay, cypressmoonstudios.org, Cypress Moon Studios Facebook, Tonya Suzanne Holly Facebook, and you can listen to the podcast. It's just the way we talk on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, as well as It's Just the Way They Talk on all platforms as well.
And I got to thank everybody for this, because you can see you never know what's going to happen with technical problems. But we made it work. So I say this. Have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world truly needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.